Support for the Leadoff on WGLT and WGLT.org comes from the Central Illinois Regional Airport, where Florida beaches are one flight away. Featuring nonstop service on Allegiant Airlines to Tampa, St. Pete, and Orlando Sanford from Bloomington. Close, convenient, CIRA. More at CIRA.com.
McLean County's top assessor is explaining how your property tax bills are calculated and how you can contest them. It's one of the things you need to know to start your day for Monday, August 26th. I'm Ryan Denham, and this is WGLT's The Leadoff. Now let's lead off with your property tax bill and why it could be going up again next year. Here's WGLT's Eric Stock.
McLean County saw a 12% increase in taxable land values last year, and it's expected to match that again this year.
We're in kind of an unprecedented level of increase that we haven't seen in a generation.
That's Tim Jorzak, McLean County Supervisor of Assessments. Jorzak says some of this year's increase comes from additional property to tax, but most of it's from rising property values. And he says that stems largely from the housing shortage.
When you have supply and demand factors coming together like that, that will cause the type of market that we're seeing. And it is a nationwide phenomenon.
The county is holding a series of public information events on how your tax bills are calculated and how you can contest them.
We're just trying to make sure that your home's value is reflected in your taxable assessment. And then we tell them about the options they have for filing complaints. If they don't think that their home's value is worth what we're saying it's worth, they certainly have options that they can get that reviewed.
Ultimately, it's the tax rate that determines how much you pay. The increase in taxable land values has enabled many government bodies to bring in more tax revenue without raising taxes, or in some cases, lowering them. Those public information sessions are September 5th in Leroy, the 9th in Lexington, and the 17th in Normal. With the reporting from Braden Fogerson, I'm Eric Stock.
Here's some other stories we're following in the WGLT newsroom. Bloomington city officials say that clouded white water spotted in a portion of Sugar Creek running through the city was the byproduct of a paint spill. It was traced to an unidentified business along Gill Street. An investigation is ongoing. Unit 5 Superintendent Kristen Weichel says the school district is hosting a series of job fairs to fill some educator vacancies. She says staff levels are decent, but a shortage remains in one key area, special education. And the state's attorney in Woodford County has been appointed to that county's resident circuit judge position, filling a vacancy left by the retirement of Judge Charles Feeney. Minger starts that new job September 20th. You can find more on these stories at WGLT.org. James and the Giant Peach tells the story of a young British boy who climbs into a magical stone fruit with larger-than-life bug friends and travels the Atlantic to visit New York, as one does. The stage adaptation is this year's season opener for the Community Players, which kicks off its 102nd season this week. Director Ashley Ray Lynn took a little break from directing shows at Community Players, but as she tells WGLT's Lauren Warnicki, she jumped at the chance to bring James and the Giant Peach to the stage.
I remember my Aunt Mary showing it to me when I was like 2 or 3 years old. So shout out to Aunt Mary on that one. Much like a lot of us theater kids, James is a dreamer. He had this great life with his parents. Tragedy struck and he's forced into this living situation that he doesn't want to be in. Through dreams and miracles, he is able to go to New York and see all the tall buildings that he so aspired to see. I like to think of it as James really gives us that why as to why children should only be seen and not heard is no longer a relevant factor. Because without James, none of them would have survived this travel in a peach over the Atlantic Ocean.
Emboldening the voices of children is really a theme throughout all of Roald Dahl's catalog.
It absolutely
right?
is.
And that whole capacity to dream is really about bringing James out of his situation.
Absolutely.
So can you talk some more about kind of the big themes and as his parents tell him his capacity to look at things another way?
He's responsible for the survival and the dreams of these bugs through his knowledge and his resourceful thinking and his having to survive these 3 years with Aunt Spiker and Sponge. He's found a way to entertain himself with his teddy bear, even though he wants to go on a simple picnic and they won't let him. He wants to have a book and they won't let him. So he has to create his own dreams, his own adventures in his head. And now he's actually getting to live it all out in miraculous, larger than life ways than what he ever intended.
Roald Dahl has a complicated legacy.
He does.
As a man, but also as an author. I think it was last year that there was kind of this pendulum swing to republish his books with some of the more questionable language taken out.
Yes.
And then there was also a subsequent republishing of his books as they were published. So people can kind of choose their level of engagement at this point with Roald Dahl. I do wonder how youth are engaging with the material and some of its stickier pain points that 50, 60 years later we look at the world a little differently than Roald Dahl did.
Times have changed. What we feel children should be exposed to is different for every parent, every educator, every adult. There are good things to the original Dahl book that made it so pivotal and so, for lack of a better word, famous and so well known. But I also respect that other people, maybe don't want to expose their 5-year-old to some of these topics.
So why choose it? I'm not questioning your choice of material, but it is, it's a choice.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if some of those risk reward pieces were weighed when you were coming up with the season.
One thing Players really likes to strive on is while we may not be everything for everyone, we can be something for everybody. This season is very geared towards children. We've had a lot of heavier dramas that have been happening and a lot of shows that really haven't involved a lot of kids. So we just came off of Mary Poppins as our last season closer. We're opening with James and the Giant Peach, going right into Christmas Story. We've got a heavier show with Cuckoo's Nest, then Rock of Ages, Moon Over Buffalo, and then we go into SpongeBob. We also are going through a massive renovation. And we are also in that mindset of what shows do we think are going to be good for everyone to help us make that renovation possible.
That's WGLT's Lauren Warnicki reporting. James and the Giant Peach opens with a Pay What You May preview on Thursday. Shows run Friday through September 8th.
Support for arts and culture coverage on WGLT comes from PNC Financial Services. PNC is committed to supporting local arts and culture events in the communities they serve.
And before we let you go, the Bloomington City Council meets tonight at 6 at the Government Center. And that's it for today. I'm Ryan Denham, and the show is produced by Rosalie Truback. You can subscribe to the Leadoff on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.